Hey everyone. With all the buzz around AI, our eyes are usually glued to the big names creating the actual models. But what if I told you some of the most critical and maybe most profitable parts of this revolution are happening almost completely out of sight? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of those companies, Arista Networks. They're a massive player in the AI game, but a lot of folks have never even heard of them.
So, let's start with a classic idea, something you've probably heard before. In a gold rush, who really gets rich? It's not always the folks digging for gold, right? A lot of the time, it's the people selling the picks and shovels. Now, in this AI gold rush, we all know who's selling one kind of shovel, NVIDIA, with their GPUs. But there's another piece of equipment that's just as important, maybe even more so. And that's the thing that connects all those fancy shovels together.
And here's the thing. You can have a warehouse full of the most powerful AI chips on the planet, but if they can't talk to each other at lightning speed, well, they're basically just very, very expensive space heaters. Seriously, the amount of data that flies between these chips when you're training a big AI model is just staggering. So the real bottleneck, the real challenge, isn't just the chips themselves, it's the connection between them.
Okay, so that brings us to Arista, the AI network architect. This is the company that's stepping in to solve that exact problem. Think of them as the master builders of the digital superhighways that AI needs to function. They're not making the AI, they're making the AI possible.
So what's their business model exactly? Well, it boils down to something called AI networking. See, for your home internet, if a tiny bit of data gets dropped here and there, you probably won't even notice. Maybe a video buffers for a split second. But for AI, dropping even a single packet of data can throw off a massive calculation and waste tons of time and money. It's a total disaster. So Arista builds something special, lossless Ethernet. It's an ultra-reliable, super-fast highway inside data centers that guarantees every single bit of information gets where it's going. This is what lets thousands of those powerful chips act like one single giant brain.
Let's break down how they actually do this. Of course, it starts with the hardware, the physical switches and cables for that high-speed Ethernet. But here's the real kicker. They're not just a hardware company. They have this whole software platform called the Etherlink portfolio. Think of it as the brain that controls the whole network from one single spot. And this is a huge deal. Almost 20% of their revenue is already coming from software and services, which is where the really good profit margins are. They're also smart about playing nice with others, partnering up with the big dogs like NVIDIA and AMD. Their whole goal is to make sure all that incredibly expensive AI hardware runs at peak efficiency, no wasted cycles.
So, you've got this great tech story, right? Building the plumbing for the entire AI industry, but is it actually a good business? I mean, that's what really matters. Well, let's pull up their balance sheet, because honestly, it's pretty much flawless.
Okay, look at this. Zero. That's their total debt. $0. That is not a typo. For a tech company this big, playing in such an expensive field, having no debt is almost unheard of. It just screams financial strength and really, really smart management.
And it gets better. Not only do they have zero debt, they are sitting on a mountain of cash, over $10 billion. That's an enormous war chest. It means they can pour money into R&D to stay ahead, snap up smaller companies if they see an opportunity, or just cruise through a recession like it's nothing. That kind of flexibility is priceless.
Now, you might think a company with no debt and a pile of cash is, maybe a little boring or slow growing. Nope, not at all. Look at this. Over the past 5 years, their earnings have grown, on average, by more than 34% every single year. So this isn't just a stable company, it's an absolute growth machine. The business model is clearly firing on all cylinders.
So with financials that look that good, it's no shocker that Wall Street is paying close attention. But what's the actual verdict? How is the market pricing this company, and what are the pros saying?
All right, let's look at a key number here, the PE ratio. It basically tells you how much the market is willing to pay for a company's earnings. And for Arista, wow, it's trading at a forward PE of almost 50. Now compare that to its peers, who are hanging out around 30. What that means is you're paying a premium for Arista stock, and people only pay a premium when they expect one thing: explosive future growth.
And this quote right here just nails it. The market has already baked in huge expectations. That premium price tag means investors are betting that Arista is going to keep delivering quarter after quarter, and that they're going to win big in this AI infrastructure race. The pressure is definitely on.
And it's not just the market in general. The professional analysts who cover this company day in and day out, they're overwhelmingly positive. Out of 24 of them, 2/3, 16, are calling it a strong buy. That is a powerful consensus. It tells you that the experts are seeing the same thing, a company that's in the right place at the right time.
Okay, so solid foundation, glowing reviews from Wall Street. What's next? Let's talk about Arista's next chapter, because they've set some seriously ambitious goals for themselves.
Unsurprisingly, the road ahead is all about AI. Management has put a stake in the ground. They're targeting more than $1.5 billion from AI alone by 2025. And then, get this, they plan to nearly double that just 1 year later. We're talking huge numbers here. And it makes sense, because they're chasing a market that's expected to be worth over $100 billion. They're not just hoping to participate, they're planning to dominate.
Which brings us to a really interesting final thought. We started this whole conversation with that picks and shovels idea. So as AI gets bigger and more powerful, who's going to be more valuable in the long run? The companies building the flashy AI models, or will it be the companies like Arista, the ones building the absolutely essential, can't live without it infrastructure that the entire industry is built on? Something to think about.
And hey, just to wrap things up here, a quick reminder, everything we've talked about today is just for informational purposes. It is definitely not financial advice. Please always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Thanks for tuning in.